guys, I need your help to come up with the content for a new show. Here's how I envision this next show. Okay. With all the politics going on in racing and all the personal agendas, I want to start the next Shakedown with this subject. Drive Shakedown is going to design the ideal North American racing, the collection of races and race cars that will grow racing, reduce the clutter, motivate the influx of money, media, and fans. So I need your guys' help to figure out how we fill that up. What is the ideal that we want?
Yeah.
I mean, you've been through Shakedown. Thank you for joining the team. But,
my pleasure.
But we've done stuff, the Michael Johnson thing,
yes.
Race of Champions.
That's right.
And you seem to have this passion for racing outside of F1.
Well, I'm mostly an F1 fan, but I can appreciate other racing, and I think that there are certain things that I like about F1 that maybe we could apply to other racing, or maybe things from that past of F1 that we could apply to other racing, because I don't necessarily think F1's at its peak right now.
So I want to pretend this is like Hot Tub Time Machine, where it's all new, it's all fresh, we can start over, okay? And I know there are some rules of reality, but I'm going to wipe it clean.
Okay.
And I want to focus on North America only. Let's not try to chomp off the world right now.
Okay.
And without getting too much into the criteria, I think we should talk a little bit about what we think racing needs to accomplish to be more popular, and then kind of cut through the elements of the action or the cars or the venues or the media or whatever. But
yeah.
I mean, let me start with just that. What do you want racing to be better?
Well, I think racing needs to be a little bit less opaque. Right now, I see cars running around tracks that I can't tell how they relate to any real cars on the road. And I'm saying that as an F1 fan. I actually love the sort of crazy technology of F1, but I think aside from that racing, there needs to be the lower tiers or the sports car racing. I need to be able to relate those cars to things on the road. And
Why?
Why? Because I think if you're sort of a fan of Porsches or you're a fan of Fords, like, you're a fan of something, you want to sort of root for that kind of thing. You want to kind of have an allegiance.
Okay, and I think racing is in that interesting spot where no one cares really about the soccer ball or who made the baseball bat or how it's constructed. They watch the sport. But because the tool is so integral to racing, I guess it does matter. Max, you're looking at me. I know you got something.
Well, no, because the thing is, for me, I understand that there are a lot of subtle things happening on the track.
Yeah.
And I appreciate it. Totally. But
don't pander to me.
Okay, no. But I don't know if it's enough for me. So there are a lot of things that I'm into where you have an appreciation of it, you get really into it. So I don't see, unless someone gets really into or understands that, the tire, how important it is to get the tires up to temp.
Yeah.
Because there's no such thing as doing a lap at speed if the tires aren't up to temp. Then,
Thank you, Adrian Newey.
Oh, my pleasure. So for me, I think that getting an appreciation for that sort of stuff, maybe there's a shortcut, maybe there's not.
So this came up once before. I mean, like for you, and there is no wrong answer here. For you, watching a race car go fast, it's not enough. I mean, like I could watch an R18, e-tron, whatever the hell they call it, around Sebring, and I could catch the nuances and be entertained.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, maybe you're just watching highway traffic.
Right.
So there needs to be more?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to put it down. I'm not putting it down that way. And that, yes.
There are no disclaimers.
Okay. Well, and also, just going fast isn't really enough, because when I was in Bangkok for Race of Champions.
Hanging out with Vettel.
Yes.
Yeah, I heard that.
That's where we met each other, hung out. I actually didn't talk to him at all, so I don't want to clear that up right away.
You blew in his ear.
Yeah.
Weber's a wanker.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
That name doesn't really mean anything to me. So, so guy goes out, gets some air on that first lift.
Oh, this is that race.
Yes.
Race Champions, the bridge, the whole thing.
Where they're setting up, and I'm rolling. I get it because I'm a professional. Okay. But then they put a chicane in there.
Yeah, because it was dangerous.
Yeah, and then it sort of got less exciting for me. Not I want to get someone to get hurt, but air is important.
So they, wait a minute, let me write that down. So they took away the thing that was interesting you.
Yeah.
and then it was time to go home.
Well, yeah. I mean, well, then I had to stay there up until like
Keep
midnight.
shooting.
Yeah, keep shooting against my will.
Okay, so actually, I'm going to use that as a little bit of the segue then. So let's start defining the action. I mean, Jordan Taylor went on about, to him, racing is passing. And I just negated watching a car go fast at some point in time. Is it enough?
Yeah.
So, and you're talking about jumps.
Right.
God knows what video game he's got in his mind. So let's define action. What do you
Sure.
want to see as action in racing?
I think that I just want to see pushing the envelope, sort of, and maybe to me that looks like one wheel's off the ground or something like that. Like, because I don't know if I can really gauge how fast someone's going.
Yeah, or how on the edge
Yeah.
they are. If they look like they're not really on the edge from the outside.
Yeah, maybe it's as simple as facial expressions of a camera right at their face, because we're used to seeing straight out, but maybe we need to see some
That's a
gnarly
good idea.
faces.
Yeah.
Well, the old guys used to talk about how F1, you could watch Nuvolari and whoever actually steer the car.
Right.
And you could see their movement, you could see them working the car. I like MotoGP because you can see the rider working.
Yeah.
Now, Tony Kanan's a little tired because his head's tilted to the left.
Yeah.
And David Hobbs goes freaking ballistic when the car goes 1 degree off angle because that's an F1 slide. Kimi
Right.
accepted. Are you on that page? We need to see more of it?
Yeah, I watch F1 all the time, but I can't even pick out some of the things they're talking about when they're.
They're just making shit up. But
They might be, yeah. Sometimes it's like they're talking about things that are going on there, with, like you said, they're off a few degrees. I can't even tell on TV, but to them it's a big deal. So yeah, I feel like we need a little bit of a closer connection to what's really going on in these cars.
So that makes me think of something else that we should probably cover up front as a little bit of the criteria. So you guys think I'm deep into the bubble. You're a fan, knowledgeable.
I'm around it.
I'm going to be polite, but you're around it.
Yeah.
You're more of an outsider looking in.
Yeah.
The nuances work for the diehard. But who should we be looking at? I mean, are we looking at a bigger audience, or are we looking to make a generalist more of a disciple? You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
I think we need to have a little bit of both. I mean, racing needs to expand to probably for business reasons. And there's a lot of people who are casual fans that maybe if they could learn a little bit about the sports or find a way to become more engaged, they could become a higher level fan somewhere.
What do you think?
Maybe I'll tell this quick story of I overheard. So I skateboard. you
Okay.
know.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
That's in
skateboard.
addition to the band you have. What's the band? The Price of Bandages?
No, the what?
No, I don't know.
The mayor of Bad News.
I was close.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
So this kid's skateboarding. There's a game called Skate. It's like horse.
Yeah.
For basketball. So one person does a trick, the other person does a trick to match it.
By the way, I'm old, not dead. Keep going.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. There's your, I guess, dominant stance. Maybe it's right foot forward, but you can also do things with the other way, and that's called switch. It's like rediscovering skateboarding.
Yeah,
again.
yeah.
So the one kid goes to the other kid, "Hey, you don't do any switch tricks," and then that kid goes, "Switch tricks don't impress my parents," because to them it looks the same. It looks like the same thing.
Right.
So I feel like maybe that's why I want to see more air stuff.
So, have you watched Global Rallycross?
Accidentally.
Do you like that stuff?
I guess so. I do like those the Gymkhana video in
Yeah,
San
yeah,
Francisco.
Yeah.
All right, that feels like you're on the edge a little bit.
Right. That feels. Yeah. I mean, that feels.
What if there was a race on that course that Ken Block drove through San Francisco? Like, wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah. That would almost like maybe like racetracks are too sterile, kind of like.
Well, it's funny, and I missed it, that's my disclaimer, but at this last X game, they had a new event called Gymkhana.
Right.
And they basically did what you just described. And I
Yeah.
guess it was like drifting is, plus, I guess there was a combination of speed or racing measurement as well as gymnastic type judging.
Yeah.
Did they do the trick or whatever? So again, if it is exciting and interesting Am I kind of drifting toward for the kids?
Well, I don't want to ruin racing for you know.
Yeah, but this is the point. There's no definition of ruining racing.
Yeah.
Because I feel like the traditionalists are clinging to traditional things, and in IndyCar, for example, thinks it's an epiphany that instead of having practice, qualifying, and the race on Sunday, they're going to have 2 races Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah.
Bloody friggin' da, okay? I mean, that's not a big epiphany.
Mm-hmm.
But if that works to attract more people because they actually watch racing versus cars going around, so be it. So you're not ruining racing. We're kind of arguing that racing is a little bit broke and maybe getting more broke as no new people come to the sport because they've got options.
Yeah.
And we're also talking about we're talking about a whole sanctioning body with different types of racing under it. So maybe certain types of racing appeal to younger people, and then it feeds them up along the way as they get older. Maybe they kind of graduate to the more technical stuff that, you know, is not maybe as wild looking, but there are other nuances that they'll pick up as they grow.
Well, that's where I was getting to, and I'm kind of going to my notes. So under some of the objectives I scribbled out, in no particular order. 1, the cars are the stars. I think what the cars are attract people to watch this. And it's probably going to be leading why we need more than one just racing series in this collection.
That goes back to what I was saying at the beginning about relating to the cars. You know, I always know there's a place for the spaceship cars. Yeah. I love them, but I feel like even when we have cars that look like real cars, they're still not. You still can't connect to them as well. So.
And the corollary to that is somewhere along the line the drivers have to matter. Action's key. We already talked about that. I think we've got to address technology because somewhere between dumbing it down and spec cars and all this stuff, NASCAR versus people loving the technology and making it relevant. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, we're having the discussion about what the fans want, the venues, where this is, how it's set up. I mean, everyone loves traditional road courses, but something new and different may be a better way to go.
Like we talked about a street course, you know, on some crazy looking terrain in San Francisco. I mean, that would look so cool with a lot of different types of racing.
You know, and
I know that's difficult to do, but.
Well, and that's the part we're not getting way too ahead of ourselves. Is it real or is it virtual? I mean, like, there'll never be a New York Grand Prix. But virtually, I can get on the sim and I can run around Columbus Circle in a race car.
Yeah.
And then somewhere along the line, the media has to factor in.
Right.
I mean, I love banging on the TV guys, but
the media,
we're doing internet, but maybe.
The media thing sort of connects with the drivers as stars aspect. To me, those two things are related because I think that, especially in this country, the media coverage of these people who are driving these cars is kind of lacking. I mean, I've watched some of the Sky Sports coverage and the BBC, and they do a much better job of sort of letting you get to know these guys, and then you feel more of a connection to them, and I think that's important. I mean, when you watch football, I'm not even a football fan, but I know that people have their favorite players, and you're rooting for these guys.
So I would argue that the roadmap is out there. You can take an entity that may be complex and nuanced, but make it play at a couple of levels.
Right.
You can make the personalities matter. You can break down what's really going on. And you can do things, as much as everyone hates PKs and all that stuff in soccer, you can break it down and make excitement, I guess, if you have to, as long as you manage it so it respects the game.
Yeah.
And actually that leads to who's going to run this thing. And the simplest way that I'd throw it out is that you got to follow the money. The tools are there. Right. The manufacturers have the most money and the most vested interest, probably sponsors and probably media. So there should be this little mafia collective of these people. They throw their money in, put the kitty in the game. That's the money to fund the type of media that needs to be done, the type of commitment that needs to be made, whether it's a kids program or a junior program to bring young sperm into racing rather than Rich Dad 101. Mm-hmm. And then they're the ones, frankly, as a benevolent dictatorship, they're the ones that start to make decisions. But we're playing that role. That's the role I want to play right now.
Yeah.
So if that sounded like too serious, I apologize. But now it kind of cuts to, so what racing series should we have?
Well, for sports cars, and I want to see something like Can-Am again.
The old.
Yeah. Where it's
which part? No rules?
Yeah, I like the.
What is that?
Can-Am was a series. What is it? Up through the 80s. I don't know. It started. 60s.
Yeah, the good stuff was 70s.
and it was basically like an unrestricted racing series. These guys they could do anything they wanted, basically. I mean, were there really any big rules?
There were minimal rules. It was an
Yeah,
open formula.
and it was popular in America.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of European guys came over to race,
Yeah.
and they built these cars that were just wild. You know, they were just completely wild.
Chaparral put wings on it for the first time aerodynamically.
Yeah.
McLaren, to catch up with Porsche, for example, were running 8-liter, 9-liter motors.
Yeah.
Anything went.
Yeah.
If you could build it within the box, freaking let it go.
I think you could have something like that now, but maybe you just restrict the amount of engines they can use per season. Let them run 21,000 RPMs. I don't care. Let them put turbos. Let them run 12 cylinders on the car. Anything goes. I want to see a mix of different things from the manufacturers who can sort of show off their own technology in their different ways and say, I know how to do this better than you guys over there.
So which, to that point, do you think WEC with the P1 cars are close to that? Or F1?
Well, the P1 cars are cool to me, but there's still not enough of them. You know, we need a whole field of those cars.
So the problem's going to be, not to be neg, is safety and budget.
Right.
But that's where...
What's safety?
Well, to your point much earlier, I don't think you can negate danger. You've got to make this feel special. If anyone thinks they can just jump in a car and act like they can drive with a sim, then you've lost a big part of this. I mean, slam any sports guy you want, including Mr. PED. We know we can't do those things, so we watch because they're gods.
Sure.
And from a race car standpoint, if it's too easy to friggin' drive, besides the fact it's probably not appealing, the drivers will tell you, it's too easy to friggin' drive. And
Yeah.
there's no allure there.
They'll say that now?
Oh, yeah.
The WEC cars, I think they're really cool, but they look like they're easy to drive, and I don't know if they are, but
Yeah, I'd have to ask McNish, but I
don't know. You know, from the outside, though, it goes back to what we were talking about before.
Yeah.
You know, you look at these spaceships going down the road
Yeah.
at ridiculous speeds, and it just seems completely undramatic, you know?
Right.
Whereas something like Can-Am everything looked like anything could happen at any moment, you know?
So his definition of Can-Am, do you like that idea of having
No,
something unlimited?
Yeah, that sounds like, because I think more than like seeing somebody get air or something like that.
Go ahead.
Because I mean, maybe that's a little low com denom. But I am
WRC
that. Yeah,
rally.
but I don't. But
Those
I
cars
am
fly.
that. But because it spoke to me when that guy got air at Race of Champions. But I think creativity, to see like people express themselves within racing would be something that would appeal to me.
Well, that actually brings up something. Like
Go
the
ahead.
old days of F1, you know, when you had these constructors who were building their own cars. I mean, that was amazing, you know, and there were so many different things these guys were doing. The cars are, you know, the things I said about Can-Am, I want to see similar rules in F1, like the old days where you had 4-cylinder cars going up against V8s or V6s or whatever, you know, or V12s. I know that probably with F1, if you had that for a season, you'd probably see the next season everyone would just figure out what happened, what was the best way, and they'd all go that way.
But that happens anyway.
Right.
So actually the creativity, like you were talking about the F1, what my mind thought of was time attack.
Right.
All these kids love time attack because they can be creative, they can build their own car. All the racing that I see, even the amateur stuff, especially the pro, there's so many rules and regulations and limitations. And to your point, once someone comes up with a good idea, they all need to follow that good idea so everything looks alike.
Yeah.
Here's what I was thinking. North American racing only, we probably should have a number of premier racing series to satisfy all these various needs of action and whatever, and technology and tradition. And I'm going to throw this out, and then we can kind of beat it to death. Everything below that is either to learn the craft, there's a feeder series, and really shouldn't distract from the specialness of this.
Right.
So honestly, not all this should be on TV because there's too much clutter. So here's my short list. I think there needs to be a premier open wheel series in North America. IndyCar evolved. I would say it'd be very high tech, open spec, and be technologically related to F1, so there can be some crossover. I'd even go so far as to suggest the Indy 500 should be part of the F1 season.
It's like the old days.
Like the old days.
And the old the old Indy cars actually were all different and high tech for the time. They looked cool.
They had turbines.
Yeah, they had all kinds of crazy stuff, and you had the F1 drivers coming over, driving cars on a one-off basis, or, like you said, it was part of the whole world challenge.
I'm not going to get caught in the details. Somewhere along the line, there should be a connect the dots, but IndyCar should be the fastest cars in North America.
Right. Right now, I'm not interested at all because they're spec cars.
Next one is, for me, there should be a premier production car racing series, and that's got to be NASCAR. And I'm not sure it's all that broke, having NASCAR.
Okay.
What do you think?
I don't like really have an opinion about NASCAR. You
Okay.
know, like it's sort of just there,
Yeah.
right?
I think they focus too much on the wrong things in that series, but
I'm
that's a
with
whole other discussion.
But but maybe I could, I didn't like broccoli at a certain point. That's Kids in the Hall.
Got it. I'm with you. I got it.
All right, I don't know if there's anything that would really get me too excited about NASCAR, but I think at the very least, if the cars were production based like they used to be in NASCAR, and if you don't have a rear-wheel drive V8 car in your lineup, then you don't get to race in NASCAR. You're going to fail, and if you want to homologate cars like they used to do, that would be cool at least.
Well, and then it makes cool special edition cars for sale to the public.
Exactly, and that could go across all the boards. I love, maybe except maybe F1 cars, but I love the old days with homologation specials and all this stuff with racing, because it gives people a real connection with the race car.
So my three were...
Before you do that, what is homologation?
Oh, okay, sorry, go ahead.
It's all right. Homologation is when there's a requirement of, okay, you want to race this car, this extra fast, bigger displacement monster, well then you have to build 500 or 5,000, whatever, street cars that the public can actually buy to say, all right, this is a real car that you make and you want to race it.
So the quick story is, back in 69, the rules for Le Mans racing changed, and the big engines were thrown out the door, and they were going to have little 3-liter F1 engines. But you could race a 5-liter production car if you built, I think the number was 250. So Porsche literally built 250 Porsche 917s, lined them all up, had the sanctioning body come and see the cars. So Ferrari, like, holy shit, Porsche's got a real race car at 5 liters. So Ferrari invited everyone over, and the story is they built 100 of the cars, showed them the 100 cars, said the other 100 over here, let's go to lunch, moved the 100 cars to another warehouse, and after lunch showed him the 100, and the guy said, oh yeah, 200, you got it. Okay, that's good.
Wow.
Homologation.
Yeah.
Anyway, I digress. So more road racing for NASCAR. I mean, honestly, if Australian V8 supercars have shown us anything.
Right. That's a perfect example of how NASCAR could succeed. And WTCC, another example.
And I bet you when I babble that in the show, there'll be a ton of commenters saying, yeah. And mine, less redneck southern drawl. I mean, stop making it this little
good old boys thing,
in the Walmart parking lot.
The whole like heritage connection with the moonshiners and stuff. I mean, come on, it's been a really long time. There is real technology and there is real advanced stuff going on in these things. Let's bring it up to the modern day,
Third series, I need sports car road racing. I think we need a GT class that can be as open tech as it is. I mean, everyone talks about the Corvettes we see at these races. Mm-hmm. If they took the restrictors off, how friggin' fast would it be?
I'm fine with that, as long as it's actually based on a real chassis.
Bingo. And I can think if they want tech in it, they can have tech in it. I think there should be a prototype class. No offense to the F1 cars. I know I'm talking too much.
No, I think it's fine if there's prototypes, Can-Am style, that they're almost like F1 cars with bodywork on them.
Now I'm going to drag you into this.
Okay.
So all these road racing cars. What would make road racing appealing to you?
I guess the thing that would make it more relatable for me, if it was in the place like you said earlier, like San Francisco or something like that, or just something that's like tight, like kind of like a tighter race, like.
So what if they had eliminations? What if it was literally every weekend was a playoff, and it took all of the entrants and cut it down to the 2 finalists?
Yeah.
I mean, would that change your thinking?
I don't know.
I don't think the manufacturers are going to go like that too much.
It's our Etch-a-Sketch. I don't know.
Yeah, but but then by the end of the year, you sort of have what we have now with WEC, with just 2 manufacturers.
No, I mean on the weekend.
Oh,
15 cars show up in the field.
Okay.
Okay. Instead of qualifying, there are a certain number of elimination races And at the end of the day, maybe that Sunday you still have an elimination race with everyone in it, but at the end of the day, we take the two finalists and they go head to head somehow, some way.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I know everyone's going to have.
So this is one-on-one.
Yeah. At the end of it, that's how you stay interested. That you watch this bad version of American Idol happen on a racetrack.
Well, I guess what would be interesting maybe would be a backstory of the racers that were shot. Each one gets like sort of their like lead up to this race, sort of a thing.
You mentioned American Idol. That's what they do for all these contestants. They have a backstory, so you feel like you have a connection with these people, even though you've seen only a three-minute little video about them.
Well, and NASCAR actually tried to get there with this whole take the gloves off the drivers and let them fight with each other and have that type of conflict.
That seems contrived to me, though.
Thank you. Okay, because that's the other part. Somewhere in here, authenticity.
Right.
We're going too long, and I apologize for this meeting, but the other thing in sports car, I want a GT class that's just the traditional, low-tech, grunty cars without all the driver controls and ABS and traction control, so that people can get back to the roots and enjoy just a real rough house type race car.
Okay, and what kind of track is that on?
On a road course.
Road course.
All right.
But to your point, we need to have something that's rally, dirt, sliding, jumping,
Yeah.
going
I
at
feel
it.
like I'm coming across as like this adrenaline junkie
No,
sort
no.
of thing.
No,
But
but
You
you're
like
not
what
alone.
you like, and
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
why you're here.
yeah.
Let me tell you something. There's hundreds of millions of dollars, $1 billion thrown at it, and IndyCar will run a race on a weekend, and they'll get what? Maybe 1 million people in the U.S. of 330 million people watching. So don't think you're the exception. You're the friggin' norm with the other 99 million.
Right, and in Europe, rally racing is very popular.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's up there. It's up there with F1. I don't know the numbers, but it's big compared to here. It's not so popular.
So I don't, I know there are rally events here in America, and I know that Global Rallycross has done a pretty good job of getting manufacturers engaged, thanks to ESPN and X Game. But somewhere along the line, with this dictatorship of all the OEMs running racing, they just need to commit to have a bigger racing rally presence. And this goes back to the media, whether it's digital or TV. It just needs to be out there so that people know these are the special classes of racing that define racing. The last one, something for bikes.
I've watched MotoGP, and the funny thing about that is, even though I love F1 and I like MotoGP, I think it's actually more interesting when the bikes are more like World Superbike, where they're a little bit
Production-based?
more production-based, because motorcycles, even the regular road-based ones that you could buy at the dealership, are so wild with the tech and stuff.
Yeah.
You're already up there in technology. So to have that, just to have the be able to actually have a real connection seems even more important in that case.
So we were on the same page with production-based. I was going to throw something out there, and I don't understand why this is. Why can't I have a racing weekend where there's car racing, and if the track allows it, and a lot of tracks do, like Laguna Seca's, why don't I have the weekend with bike being one of the event?
Yeah, why not?
Why? And by the way, have the cars go to a bike event and be a support race to them. Are the fans all that different that they don't?
No, I think, there are obviously support races already at different types of race events, but if you had more top level racing at one event on one weekend, that could be pretty interesting, rather than sort of the gentleman drivers running around in their Ferrari Scuderias and then the F1 cars come out or whatever.
Does racing include video games? Does this whole redesign involve video games more than just having
I think it
licensing?
has to. I'm not a big video game fan, but I think that it's important for the aspect of bringing new people into the sport.
Should I even mention it in the show?
I think you might have to.
Would this affect video game sales, or what are you saying?
No, would I integrate video racing into this redesign of what racing
As
should
a
be in North
competition?
America? Yeah.
Or just to sort of allow the fans to play a sim of these different kinds of racing, so they can feel more involved.
And by the way, I don't know how far it should go, because in Europe, and I guess in a little bit in America, Nissan has their whole GT Academy, looking for young guys to become and girls to become professional racers.
Yeah.
And Ordonez, if I'm pronouncing it right, he's raced at Le Mans, he raced at Spa. Ford has their little online version of Octane Academy, trying to find talent. I don't know what they're going to do with them, but they've connected the dots between virtual and real racing.
Yeah.
And rather than just sell more, how could racing use that to get more fans into this? And perish the thought that you have a competition where I get to race Vettel or Dale Jr.
Right.
on the sim as part of some other version of American Idol that keeps ringing in my head.
Hold on 1 second. Are you saying, would it be possible?
Go ahead.
You have your guys out there on the track,
Yeah.
and then you have some kid in a virtual car racing them at the same time.
I don't see why not. Someone tried to do that years ago, and they were way ahead of the technology.
How would that work? Yeah.
You're using the video feed from the race or some sort of telemetry to show where the cars are, but you're in the race as
Well,
well.
it would-
The real race. That'd be cool.
It would never interfere with the real race.
Right.
And just have the sim respect that if you bumped into one of the real cars, you bumped into the car.
Right. That'd be really
Would
cool.
you screw watch it? Would you do that?
No, I don't think so.
But it sounds like a good idea for
Again,
people.
Why did JF put you on the ShakeDown team?
No.
I'm kidding. The only one I haven't figured out is drag racing, but guess what? The news is Ford cut professional drag racing. They're dumping John Force. They're going to just do grassroots, but I don't know what to do about drag racing, and I can't ignore it.
Well, I don't know enough about drag racing, but
Nor
I
do
think
I guess.
I think again people have more connection to the cars that they can relate to when they see a really, I'm thinking back to the muscle car days, or even the,
Yep.
when they can see a car going down the strip and then buy a car just like that. That's pretty cool. So that's all I can say about it. I know I'm kind of repeating myself.
How attended are drag races?
Professional ones.
I haven't been in a long time, but I know the races on the West Coast. They get a big crowd.
They do.
100,000.
Wow.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
a lot.
So it doesn't
think
seem
so.
like there's a problem.
No. To that point, I don't think there is a problem. They would argue differently in terms of sponsorship and what's going on. But at the same point in time, what I don't want to do is allow clutter to seep back into this pushing racing forward.
Yeah.
But I'm the bad guy who said, oh yeah, drag racing. I forgot about that. And I'm just throwing it out there for them. I want to throw it out there for the crowd when they talk about it.
Right now, as it is, are there any events where they have this thing that you're saying, where it's more like an Olympics kind of thing, where if you're watching from home, you watch the guy in the rings, and then it goes to.
I think the closest are Race of Champions and the X Games.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you like that? Do you think you'd stick around for the whatever you don't like event?
Well, this reminds me, not to
Go
cut
ahead.
you off.
No. Someone should.
With all these different racing types within this sanctioning body, if we could encourage the drivers to cross over more often, that would be helpful, I think. Because if you start following a driver and you only like that one style of racing, you might open your mind once he goes over this other one.
I think that's necessarily brilliant. That has to happen.
I feel like that used to happen more often, not under one sanctioning body, but
Well, and to that point, this is where I'm going to put too much pressure on the manufacturers. But since they are being allowed to run this thing, look at Pat Long.
yeah.
They shop Pat Long around to various teams. What we're saying is go back the old Andretti days, and today this weekend you're in the rally car.
Right.
Next weekend you're in our open wheel car.
Right.
Whatever.
Right.
Yeah, I think that would interest you, and it would build the personality of these guys
Right.
and girls. I keep saying that.
And it would show how well-rounded they are and their strengths and all that.
And
Weaknesses.
this week I'm watching rally. Next week I'm watching Indy because I'm following my guy.
Yeah.
So are we done?
Yeah, another 5-minute meeting with Leo. Thanks. No,
Yeah.
yeah, I think we're done, and I think you gave me stuff to work on. So I'm gonna go write this damn thing.
All right.
Today on Shakedown, let's redo racing and create the ideal North American racing set, the collection of racing series and race cars to get more fans, to keep the hardcore enthusiasts happy, and to bring in new followers without dumbing the racing down or sensationalizing it into some version of, I don't know, Ricky Bobby's Death Race 3000. So why this show? Well, frankly, I've had it with the auto racing politics, personal agendas, and nearsighted compromises in racing that never seem to get us the best solutions or the best racing. And why a North American racing redo versus taking on the globe? Well, I gotta start somewhere. This first, then we'll take on F1 Bernie and or the FIA. So today, let's design a series of North American series with the cars, the action, drivers, technology, the traditions, the tracks, the format of the racing, and the media that would make racing be what you want and what more people would want to follow. And like every Shakedown, we'll be doing our racing redesign with your ideas and input. We're tipping the North American Auto Racing Etch-a-Sketch and turning the knob Shakedown way, all with your input. So come back and let's see if we can outthink the IndyCar people, outsmart the SCCA, and outfox the Frances of NASCAR and the United Sports Car Racing.